This is a video in the Let's Go Beekeeping series. I'm trying to help inexperienced beekeepers perhaps take their first few swarms. All I'm going to do is just show the kit that I have ready, so that if I get a call I can be I'm already prepared and I can go out almost straight away. Now swarms can be almost anywhere. They're not always just in trees 6 feet up on thin branches that you can just drop into a box. They can be in all sorts of places. They can be on walls. I've had them on bicycles. I've had them on filing cabinets under the control tower at Gatwick Airport. I've even had them in manholes. So they can be anywhere. So you need to be prepared. But the kit that I've assembled is usually enough for most circumstances. So what you need is obviously a container. Now, an experienced beekeeper will probably have what's called a skep, but not everybody's got those. Quite a good substitute is a polynuke. And polynukes are actually quite good because if you get something, let's say on a wall, you can put the polynuke up against the wall and then brush the bees into it. If you do that, I suggest you have a piece of tough plastic that you can put over the top so you can then put the lid on, so that when you take the lid off you haven't got bees clustering underneath, because bees in a swarm in an empty container, they would tend to hang from the top. So if you put plastic on, that gets over that little bit of a problem. Oh, by the way, if you do use one of these, make sure you close the entrance off. And I have seen cars filled up with bees fairly rapidly. If you use a skep or a box or something like that, then I find a cloth of some description is very good. This is Hessian. If you know a bricklayer, they use this to cover the brickwork up in frosty weather. It is fairly open weave. Personally, I wouldn't trust it as single thickness, so what I do is double it up. You can then lay that on the ground, and if you take the swarm in your container, whatever it is, you just turn it upside down onto the cloth, wrap the cloth round, and then you need to secure it some way. Baler twine is excellent for that. It doesn't stretch. And it's very strong. Either that or the sort of light rope that you can get. So they are, in my opinion, essential. I always have a smoker in my car anyway, although with many swarms you don't really need one, but they are good for just driving, perhaps out of a hedge or something like that. And I can assure you that a holly hedge or a quickthorn hedge, hawthorn, if you want to use that word, they can sometimes be quite difficult to get swarms out. A little bit of smoke, they tend to drive them. Bees generally go uphill, so put your container above and then smoke the bees up. A hive tool is always handy. You never know when you can when you need one. And if you've got a good one with a sharp end, then you can probably use that for cutting brambles and that sort of thing away. So a hive tool's always useful. Veil. I would always take a spare, because it's surprising the number of people who say, "Oh, can I have a look? Can I have a look?" Well, swarms are usually pretty docile, but if somebody's got a veil on or head protection, they're going to feel a lot better. And you know, there's always a chance of getting stung anyway. An old comb is very handy because sometimes you can have a swarm in a difficult place. If you can put the comb, especially above, and then smoke the bees onto the comb, you can then get that covered with bees and then bang them into your container. So although it's not essential, it's quite a useful piece of kit. And as you can see from this one, it's got what we call a Sussex lug on one end, so it's probably not much use in the beehive anymore, but it's absolutely ideal for collecting a swarm. I suggest quite strongly that you put it in the freezer for probably about a week, because it will kill off any wax moth, eggs, larvae, or whatever. And unless you have reinfestation, that shouldn't be a problem. Very often, in a bush or a tree or something like that, little tree, you need to clip away little branches, twigs. If you do that, pair of secateurs are useful, and also a little pruning saw. I find them incredibly useful, and these little saws will go through sort of 3 inches, 75 millimeters quite easily. One slight word of warning: the chances are you'll be doing it to somebody else's property, so I'll just ask them first. Although I don't particularly like them, bee brushes can be quite useful, especially if you've got bees around, perhaps a post or somewhere it's difficult to get the bees off. So just a little brush. Don't just roll it like that. Give it a flick, and they'll come off nice and easy. So bee brush, and also I suggest clipping and marking kit. So they're usually in my box anyway. And finally, something that is really handy is a queen cage, because if you can find the queen and imprison her in a cage, then you've definitely got the swarm. It's handy if you put a little bit of wire through the loop at the end, if you've got this type of puzzle cage, because then, don't forget, bees go upwards. You can perhaps push it through your skep or your box or whatever, and then just fold it over at the end, and that will hold the swarm. So there it is. That's what I take with me when I go and collect a swarm.